product of our privilege as the clothes on my back or the phone call I made to my mom last night. And let's stop this talk of action, cause action comes easy. It's the moments just before that are hard, when I've gotta get my voice and my fist on the same page as my heart. As my heart. And let's stop this talk of them, because the things we find deplorable in politicians, CEOs, and cops are the same things that'll tear ourselves apart. And let's stop this talk of words, because words like dishonesty, selfishness, and laziness, and greed aren't as distant to us as we'd like to believe, to believe. So please, the next time you're smashing the state, don't go breaking my heart. But I know that when you pick up the pieces, the only thing left will be the same empty rubble that's made up every revolution that I've ever known, to make me believe and lose faith in humanity, in the same empty breath of hot air. And they say that the beauty's in the streets, but when I look around, it seems more like defeat. And I'm afraid that this fight that we're all caught up in will leave us the same as that which we oppose. So please, the next time you're smashing the state, don't go breaking my heart. But I know that we can pick up the pieces and build something new, something different. That's not like every revolution that I've ever known, that can make me believe and have faith in humanity, and we'll all be the breath of fresh air. Let's stop this talk of privilege, cause the songs that we sing are as much a product of our privilege as the clothes on my back or the phone call I made to my mom last night. And let's stop this talk of action, cause action comes easy. It's the moments just before that are hard, when I've gotta get my voice and my fist on the same page as my heart. As my heart. And let's stop this talk of them, because the things we find deplorable in politicians, CEOs, and cops are the same things that'll tear ourselves apart. Check. And let's stop this talk of words, because words like dishonesty, selfishness, and laziness, and greed aren't as distant to us as we'd like to believe, to believe.
Check.
So please, the next time you're smashing the state, don't go breaking my heart. But I know that when you pick up the pieces, the only thing left will be the same empty rubble that's made up every revolution that I've ever known, to make me believe and lose faith in humanity, in the same empty breath of hot air. And they say that the beauty's in the streets, but when I look around, it seems more like defeat. And I'm afraid that this fight that we're all caught up in will leave us the same as that which we oppose.
We're using the black, white, and green mics.
So please, the next time you're smashing the state, don't go breaking my heart. But I know that we can pick up the pieces, build something new, something different. That's not like every revolution that I've ever known, that can make me believe and have faith in humanity, and we'll all be the breath of fresh air.
So, okay, keep the mic down. Should I? Can Anna, like, come in and put the mic down?
Let's stop this talk of privilege, cause the songs that we sing are as much a product of our privilege as the clothes on my back or the phone call I made to my mom last night. And let's let's stop this talk of action, cause action comes easy. It's the moments just before that are hard, when I've gotta get my voice and my fist on the same page as my heart. As my heart. And let's stop this talk of them, because the things we find deplorable in politicians, CEOs, and cops are the same things that'll tear ourselves apart. And let's stop this talk of words, because words like dishonesty, selfishness, and laziness, and greed aren't as distant to us as we'd like to believe, to believe. So please, the next time you're smashing the state, don't go breaking my heart. But I know that when we pick up the pieces, the only thing left will be the same empty rubble that's made up every revolution that I've ever known, to make me believe and lose faith in humanity, in the same empty breath of hot air. And they say that the beauty's in the streets, but when I look around, it seems more like defeat. And I'm afraid that this fight that we're all caught up in will leave us the same as that which we oppose. So please, the next time you're smashing the state, don't go breaking my heart. But I know that we can pick up the pieces to build something new, something different. That's not like every revolution that I've ever known, that can make me believe and have faith in humanity, and we'll all be the breath of fresh air. Let's stop this talk of privilege, cause the songs that we sing are as much a product of our privilege as the clothes on my back, or the phone call I made to my mom last night. And let's stop this talk of action, cause action comes easy. It's the moments just before that are hard, when I've gotta get my voice and my fist on the same page as my heart. As my heart. And let's stop this talk of them, because the things we find deplorable in politicians, CEOs, and cops are the same things that'll tear ourselves apart.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to chapel on this Wednesday. My name is Katie Outlaw, and I'm the middle school dean of students. Today, our openers will be our PIC presidential speeches. That's the partnerships in the community. So we are doing these in alphabetical order, and first up we have Willa Mermelstein, and then followed by Willa we have Olivia Scotchy, and then we have JC Wiedmer. So come on out, Willa.
Hi everyone, I'm Willa Mermelstein and I'm running to be your next PIC president. When I first came to GPS, I was a shy 11-year-old who had yet to find a niche that really fit. This changed during my 8th grade year when I began volunteering with my dad. I loved being able to have a meaningful impact on people as well as the time I got to spend with him. One of our favorite places to volunteer was the Pilgrim Food Pantry on Saturday mornings, where we would bag food to pass out to people in need. Being able to directly interact with the people I was helping made me realize what a difference I could make. The pantry, as well as other service opportunities I participated in, ignited my love for service and led me to run for PIC in the spring of my freshman year. PIC was one of the first places that I felt like I really fit. As a 15-year-old elected to the council, I had become much more confident in myself, and I was, and still am, incredibly passionate about being a representative. Now, as a junior running for president of the Partnerships in the Community Council, I share the same drive as my freshman self. My experience in PIC, my passion for service, and my creative and organizational skills make me well suited to be your next PIC president. This year, I found a creative way to serve, even in a pandemic, by creating a program for high schoolers to be pen pals with residents at assisted living facilities. While I had originally only gotten in contact with a facility called Manor House, I ultimately contacted several others after the program received more interest than I expected. This is a testament to my ability to communicate effectively with organizations and adapt my plans as needed, both necessary skills for a PIC president. I plan to continue expanding this program so that as many girls can participate as possible. As one of my main goals for next year is making volunteer opportunities more accessible, this program is a great example of a way to volunteer on your own time. Every GPS student is so busy, and I know how challenging it can be to fit volunteering into everything else you need to get done. To ease this problem, I promise to provide more on-campus service opportunities so that volunteering can fit into the school day. Last year, I facilitated help class sessions to make cards for the Erlanger Children's Hospital, and I pledge to bring this opportunity back next year, as you can stop by whenever you're available, and it's not as much of a commitment as having a pen pal. I want to hear your feedback about what your favorite organizations are so that these cards can go to places you care about. This would be available to both middle and upper schoolers, as I know that specifically for middle schoolers, it is difficult to volunteer if you can't drive yet. I also think that PIC can interact more with the middle school. As your PIC president, I promise to do this more next year by talking directly with middle school representatives and inviting them to some of our PIC meetings, maybe on a monthly basis. We tried this out a few years ago, and I think it was very helpful to hear input on what middle schoolers need from their own classmates, so I would love to bring this back. As PIC president, I wouldn't just be encouraging service in my own classmates. PIC opportunities should be available to all girls at GPS, not just upper schoolers. To get more feedback from the student body, I pledge to host monthly PIC forums where anyone can stop by and ask questions of representatives or make suggestions. I would love to hear about your favorite organizations so that the council can make connections and offer service opportunities with them. As president, one of my primary goals would be to encourage and uplift service, and one way I would like to do this would be to have representatives make regular chapel announcements, selecting a volunteer of the month to celebrate from both the middle and upper school. Your service doesn't go unnoticed, and I want to highlight the work you do. Lastly, I want to bring back volunteering at a food pantry next year. As I mentioned earlier, the Pilgrim Food Pantry was one of my favorite places to volunteer, but unfortunately, they recently had to stop having monthly volunteer opportunities. I know that many of you also loved volunteering at the pantry, so I want to recommit the council to these opportunities, maybe with the Chattanooga Food Bank or local elementary schools. If elected, I would do everything in my power to accomplish these goals as I care deeply about PIC. I want to create a stronger connection between the council and the student body, and I think my years of being a representative have enabled me to accomplish this. My passion for service, both within GPS and the broader community, make me well suited to be your next PIC president. Again, I'm Willa Mermelstein, and I would be so honored to have your vote. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Scotchy, and I am running to be your Partnerships in the Community president for next year. I've been on the council for the past 2 years, and I've learned much and enjoyed my time and would love to extend it as president. I absolutely love to volunteer and wish to spread this passion throughout the student body by interacting with you. I have participated at in-person events at the Chambliss Center, encouraged you to bring cans for Habitat for Humanity, invited you to a Ronald McDonald House fun run, and have done much more. I'm a member of the Children of the American Revolution, an organization that allows me to serve at the Hosanna House, Salvation Army, Disabled American Veterans, and the Brainerd Mission Cemetery. This highlights some of my experience as a volunteer in the Chattanooga area, and my hope would be to make it possible to nurture this passion in you. In order to communicate my strategy, I have created an acrostic of the letters in Partnerships of the Community. P is for passionate. We need a diverse range of opportunities that appeal to everyone in the GPS community. Having activities that help the homeless, veterans, animals, children, the environment, and those that are ill will help us to connect to the community in which we live. If you feel drawn to a special service, reach out to me so I can help connect you. Every member of our student body should be able to volunteer in a way that is self-fulfilling and beneficial to the community at the same time. I is for invested. I'm focused on creating easy and more accessible activities for the student body to volunteer. I recently spoke with several middle school students about ways they could volunteer. They commented that time commitments made it hard for them to participate in many of these activities, and it became clear to me that volunteering during school hours may be something positive for everyone at GPS. I want there to be quick ways for you to take a break during school, so I would like to create volunteer opportunities during help classes, labs, study halls, and flex chapels. Even small acts of kindness and a willingness to help the community makes an impact. When you are committed and willing to make a difference, you may never know the positive effect you make, but the chance to experience making that difference is what truly counts. C is for caring. We have a beautiful community, and I want GPS to have a positive impact throughout the city. I would like PIC to coordinate with Stuco to hold events that would ultimately benefit organizations within Chattanooga, such as bring a can or hygiene products for part of the entry fee to an event. I would like to promote opportunities with McCamey and the Humane Society, who doesn't love animals, and create a Pet of the Month series, which would help promote adoption and awareness. I would like sports teams, after-school activities, and clubs to volunteer together as a way to bond. And there are many ways to do this: cooking meals, writing letters to veterans, widows, or hospice patients, or bundling care packages for the homeless. GPS students can volunteer at the Ironman, cook meals at the Ronald McDonald House, clean trash by the river, read to sick patients, help animals, and tutor children. Finally, my vision as your PIC president would include a student-run PIC club aimed to connect the middle school with more community service opportunities and bring back the Volunteer of the Month. My desire is to increase overall participation, spread my passion for involvement, and to better the GPS and Chattanooga communities. I care about the community, you care about the community, and together we can make a difference. Thank you for your attention, and please vote me, Olivia Scotchy, for PIC president.
Good afternoon. My name is JC Wiedmer, and I'm running to serve as your Partnerships and the Community President for the upcoming school year. The purpose of the Partnerships and the Community Council is to promote service in our school and our community by establishing meaningful partnerships with local organizations. I developed my love for serving my community and those less fortunate than me at a young age, due in part to my church's partnership with a local organization known as Family Promise. Family Promise helps families with children turn their lives around with an end goal of providing them with a place to live and a job with a stable income. My church hosts families in this organization for several weeks each year, and my family and I have been overnight hosts, cooked dinner for the families, and provided the evening activities. I remember one week when the families were at our church, I saw a girl there whom I'd gone to YMCA camp with. She immediately recognized me and came up and gave me a big hug. I had no idea until that night that she was homeless. It was an eye-opening experience and really put into perspective that homeless people were just like me and my family, and that it could happen to anyone. From that point forward, I wanted to do as much as I could to help anyone who was struggling, but especially the homeless population, and to this day, my passion for the homeless remains. One of my favorite volunteer experiences came the summer before my sophomore year when I took a trip with my youth group to San Diego, California. Throughout the week, we completed various volunteer activities, but my favorite experience was volunteering with a program called Showers of Blessings. This program provides showers to the large homeless population in that area every few weeks and allows each person to get a clean set of clothes, shoes, a haircut, and a hot breakfast. I thoroughly enjoyed helping with this and spending time hearing each of their stories. The best part was seeing the smiles on each of their faces when they left. One of the things that attracted me to GPS was its commitment to community service. It has allowed me to volunteer at the Ironman with my mom, make cards and cookies for widows, and participate in the MLK Day of Service, which became something I looked forward to each year. I thought it was such a cool experience being able to see different organizations and to have a day solely dedicated to helping out our community. It is experiences like these that motivated me to be a PIC representative this past year. Although COVID-19 limited our volunteer opportunities, I think we as a council did a really good job at coming up with ways to volunteer while still being COVID safe. The turkey drive, aluminum can drive, and cookies for a cause all proved to be very successful. Recently, I've started tutoring after school with a local program called YCAP. It has been such a rewarding experience getting to spend time with the boys and help them with their homework. I think now more than ever, it is especially important to help out in as many ways as possible. Obviously, there is still a lot of uncertainty as to what our world will look like 6 months from now, but I believe that no matter how it looks, I will accommodate as needed if I'm elected PIC president. My main goal, if elected, is to promote more student involvement. To achieve this goal, I would love to be able to receive more student feedback on what volunteer opportunities you would be interested in by having suggestion boxes posted around the school in a Google form on my GPS. I would also like to start a middle school or an upper school buddy system for girls that have a passion for community service like myself. This would ensure that you would always have someone to volunteer with while also creating a new friendship and bridging the gap between the upper and middle schools. Additionally, I would love to partner with Stuco to award Bruiser Bowl points for upper schoolers and black, blue, and white points for middle schoolers who complete volunteer hours and have challenges among the grade levels with some sort of reward for the grade with the most volunteer hours each semester. Finally, I would like to create a partnership with a local homeless shelter, such as the community kitchen, by having volunteer opportunities each month at the shelter and a study hall baking opportunity at school for girls that would benefit the shelter. Ultimately, I want to hear from you. I want you to enjoy volunteering and not feel like it is something you are obligated to do. I consider myself to be a very trustworthy, organized, motivated, and friendly person, which are all characteristics that are very important when holding a leadership position. I am very excited about this opportunity, and I hope you will pick me, JC Wiedmer, to be your partnerships and the community president. Thank you.
All right, we have no further announcements today, so I would like to welcome Bo and Beck Thrash to the stage, who will be introducing their sister and our chapel speaker, Annie Thrash.
All right, hello everyone. How we doing? Sweet. Glad to hear it. Good afternoon. My name is Bo, and this is Beck. We're Annie's brothers, and I'm sure a lot of you didn't know that we existed, honestly. But anyway, that's besides the point. We've known Annie for her whole life and ours, and if you know her, you know that she's pretty unique. Annie is not afraid to be her own person, even if it goes against the status quo, and I admire her for that. Annie's always been into drama, and if you know her, you know that too. She, even whenever we were babies, whenever she was 6 years old, we did a church play together, and I will never forget it. Annie memorized every single one of her lines, and also every other cast member's line in the play, and she was not afraid to let them know if she messed it up. But me and Beck like to think of that as her way of helping. It probably won't, let's see. We could probably go on and on and on about Annie and tell you stories, a lot of which she wouldn't want you to hear. But anyway, we think it's best if you hear about her from the expert herself.
Now introducing our sister, Anne-Marie Elise Elizabeth Thrash.
It's not mine, but it was annoying me. There we go. So first, I wanted to give a shout out to my rap, Victoria. You're absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to see what you do. I wanted to say thank you so much to my dad. I know that sometimes I'm a lot, but you've always been nothing but encouraging and supportive. When I'm in school next year, I'm really gonna miss our Jeopardy nights, your cooking, and hearing you gossiping to the cats about the people you work with when you think I can't hear you. I love you very much. Thank you to my mom for always encouraging my spirit of curiosity as a kid. I know it's always going to serve me well. Thank you, Bo, for agreeing to introduce me, and thank you to Beck for offering to introduce me in exchange for getting to come to Disney World with Dad and me. You two have always been there for me, and I'm forever going to be grateful for the lessons you taught me. I'm so glad I decided to have you two introduce me instead of my original middle school plan of having you and my friends audition against each other for the honor. Throughout my entire career at GPS, I was terrified of being forgotten. I was petrified that if I wasn't constantly succeeding and excelling at doing bigger and bigger things, I would be boring and forgettable. That if my time at GPS wasn't remembered, every moment I spent, and subsequently every friend I made, test I took, lesson I learned, and word I said here was a waste. I had to be perfect. I don't know how or when a change happened, maybe all at once, or maybe it came from slowly leaving behind the anxieties I'd been carrying. But the way I thought about everything shifted. The first step was realizing that my happiness is a valuable pursuit. That revelation was absolutely groundbreaking for me. Being happy is a worthy thing to work for. I had so long been obsessed with this idea of being this great, admired, awe-inspiring person that I had left behind the idea that my enjoyment of life had value. But I realized I deserved to be happy, that my actions do not have to exist with the sole purpose of a legacy, and my accomplishments don't need to have been unforgettable in order to have enjoyed my life and time at GPS. So when it came to my chapel talk, I followed this doctrine. So in the spirit of cultivating my own happiness, I want to talk about why I am the way I am. I have created a source of happiness in myself. I made myself into the kind of person whom I'd want to be around. I love getting excited about certain things that no one else really cares about because I love it when other people get excited about the things close to their heart. I can't help but jump around and do a little happy dance when I find strange oddities for sale that I can buy and show everyone I know. A list of these oddities currently decorating my room include a full-size pair of mannequin legs I bought at the mall, random animal bones, both found and bought, lots of worms on strings because I bought them in bulk one time, a coin from the Roman Empire, a first edition Beanie Baby I found at a thrift store, and even more weird things. It makes me so happy to curate my room the same way you would a museum. If my room weren't mine, I'd want to be around the person who decorated it the way it was. Another part of myself that I've cultivated is my style. You've all seen my boots and my earrings and everything else strange about my appearance sometimes. I once had an old man in a Walmart tell me I dressed like Elton John if he were a witch. And Cedric says he could see Dennis Rodman in my outfits sometimes. Aren't those the best compliments you've ever heard? As a person who dresses outside the norm, I'm often asked, why? Why do you dress like that? Usually in that tone of voice too. The answer is really easy. If I saw someone dressed like me, I'd want to be their friend. When I'm not at school, I'm often dressed in my jacket. If you haven't seen it, though it's likely you have, considering I wear it every free dress day and also wore it today, it's a jean jacket covered in patches, embroidery, safety pins, buttons, and anything else I can find. My favorite embellishments include an excerpt from the ancient Chinese poem Big Rat and a patch that reads Punk Possum Gang. I made my jacket as I grew myself into the culture of my music. If you know me, you know I can spend hours talking about my favorite genre, folk punk. Folk punk has a sound characterized by angry or passionate lyrics, acoustic instruments, and overall just focusing a lot more on emotion than things like actually sounding good. You actually heard one of my favorite songs before chapel started, and on my jacket are patches with lyrics from songs I love, like Keep On Lovin', Keep On Fightin', and Walk Like Thunder. They give me hope. I feel so incredibly empowered by those words, so I incorporated them into how I see myself. Instead of just existing as Annie, I saw myself as someone who listened to cool music and was wild and free, the kind of person who I would love to meet and spend time with. I took what made me happy, my music, and grew it into a part of who I am. To sidetrack a bit, as much as I do love my music, sometimes it causes a problem. Due to the fact I have ADHD, I often end up with 3 or 4 different songs all playing in my head simultaneously. If you've never experienced that many songs in your head at once, it's kind of like when you're an angsty middle schooler and you're riding in the car with your mom and you're in the back seat because you're still too short for the front seat, even though your older brother got to ride the front seat when he was your age, and your mom's playing country music through the radio, but not just any country music. She's playing that country rap that you hate. So you take your iPad and its dirty red case and you plug in your headphones, but then her music's also kind of loud and you can still kind of hear it, so you end up listening to a weird mix of Keith Urban and the only songs on your iPad, which are just the 3 Fall Out Boy songs your friend Anna Kate recommended one time. You know, a universal experience like that. Along the lines of how I tried to get into emo music to be cool, I love my middle school cringe years so much. I cherish the fact that I once spent a whole day upset in 6th grade because someone laughed at me because I wasn't allowed to say but. I find it hilarious that in 8th grade, when I was given a Harry Potter Trivial Pursuit game, that everyone I knew refused to play with me because I just knew the answer to every single question. And I love to tell that story about the time at a 6th grade dance where I cornered some poor boy and demanded he give me his email, only to never contact him again. I want to find that boy and tell him I'm sorry, but I honestly have completely forgotten his name. A lot of these moments were embarrassing or upsetting at the time, but now I share all these stories gladly because it makes me happy to know how much I've grown. Having all of these funny memories inside my head is something I can use to find joy when everything else isn't working out around me. This talk is my story, but it's also an offer to you. I want to give you my way of being happy. Treat yourself like a garden. Plant what you want to bloom and get rid of the weeds that choke out what you love. Find and nurture those parts of you that bring you joy. For me, that's collecting things, my fashion, my music, and my memories. There's one person who you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and it's you. Find what makes you happy. Make it a part of who you are. If you align yourself with what brings you joy, you'll reach a point where you can find joy just in yourself. If you don't live a life that makes you feel happiness, you'll never reap the sort of legacy I once craved. Let yourself fall deep into those weird and unique habits that make you the kind of person no one can forget. Take time to cultivate who you are into a person you love, and then you can find a source of happiness and fulfillment that you won't ever lose. And now I would like to invite up my best friend since the 6th grade entrance exam and the person who has been described as 90% of my self-control, Katie Day, so we can sing a little folk punk for y'all.
Waking up at 6 a.m. has never felt better. We're just some bed punks living as if it's always summer. We won't wait in time or remember our lines when we try to sing, and play back to rule the world when we find meaning in our suffering.
What if I say goodbye